The Duggar house stood like a monument of faith and discipline, its walls echoing with laughter, prayers, and the sound of countless small footsteps. Every morning began the same way, with Bible readings, breakfast prayers, and Michelle's soft, encouraging voice guiding her children into another day of obedience and order. Among them all, Jana Duggar, the eldest daughter, carried a special kind of calm. She was the quiet caretaker, the one who tucked the younger kids into bed, who decorated the house for every season, who helped her mother plan meals and manage the chaos of 19 children. Everyone admired her patience, her stillness, her strength. But behind her kind smile and gentle eyes lived a loneliness she never dared to name. At 35, Jana was still unmarried, a subject that the family whispered about but never addressed directly. In a world where her sisters had moved on, married, and built their own families, Jana remained in the same place, faithful, helpful, and always available. But deep down she wondered, was this all her life was meant to be? One crisp autumn afternoon, the Duggar home was buzzing with excitement. Jinger Duggar and her husband, Jeremy Vuolo, were coming to visit from Los Angeles. The visit was part of a family reunion, a rare moment when all siblings returned home to reconnect and film a family episode for their online ministry. When the black SUV rolled up the driveway, laughter and hugs filled the front yard. Jeremy, in his usual calm yet confident manner, greeted everyone warmly. He was charismatic, charming, and carried a sense of purpose that always drew attention. But when he turned to Jana, there was something different in his eyes, a kind of quiet recognition. That night, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Jeremy spoke about life in the city, about the challenges of faith outside the comfort of their hometown. Jana listened closely. His words were thoughtful, layered with meaning. Every sentence felt like a glimpse into a world she had never experienced. For years, Jana's life had been carefully controlled. The same routines, the same expectations. But Jeremy's stories awakened something long asleep in her: curiosity. After dinner, the younger siblings ran off to play, and Michelle began cleaning up with the other women. Jana stepped out to the porch to catch her breath. The cool evening air brushed against her face, carrying the faint scent of pine and home. Moments later, Jeremy walked out too, carrying 2 mugs of hot tea. He handed one to her, smiling politely. The stars above them shimmered quietly. They talked about simple things: the weather, family, the pressure of public attention. But underneath the calm conversation flowed an invisible current, something neither could ignore. Jana felt her heart race in a way it hadn't in years. The days that followed were filled with family activities, filming sessions, and long talks about faith and purpose. Every interaction between Jana and Jeremy was innocent, yet charged with something unspoken. They avoided each other's eyes in front of others but found themselves seeking each other's company whenever possible. Late one night, as the house slept, Jana sat by her window, staring out into the dark. Her reflection in the glass looked unfamiliar, softer, uncertain. She whispered to herself, almost afraid of the thought forming in her heart. She was falling for someone she was never meant to love. And as the dawn began to break, she knew this feeling was dangerous. For in the Duggar household, secrets never stayed secret for long. The spark had been lit, quiet, hidden, and destined to burn through everything she had ever known. Weeks passed quietly after Jinger and Jeremy's visit to Arkansas. The Duggar home returned to its usual rhythm: morning prayers, daily chores, the constant noise of family life. To everyone else, life went on as usual. But Jana Duggar was no longer the same. Something inside her had changed. The quiet spark she once tried to bury had grown into a slow-burning ache that refused to die. Every evening she found herself replaying Jeremy's words in her mind. The way he spoke about purpose, passion, and freedom. His voice lingered in her memory like a song she couldn't forget. Jana started to withdraw from her usual duties. She spent more time outside, tending the garden, sitting under the oak tree near the edge of the property, writing in her journal, something she hadn't done in years. Michelle noticed her daughter's distance but assumed Jana just needed rest. Jim Bob, ever focused on family order, believed everything was perfectly fine. But it wasn't. Far away in Los Angeles, Jinger Duggar Vuolo also began to sense something. Jeremy had grown strangely quiet. He avoided her gaze when she asked simple questions about their last trip. Sometimes she'd find him lost in thought, staring at nothing. And once, when she walked into the room unexpectedly, He closed his laptop a little too quickly. Jinger tried to brush it off. Her marriage was built on faith, trust, and shared ministry. But late at night, when she lay beside him in bed, she could feel the distance, like an invisible wall between them. Jeremy wasn't unkind, but something in his heart had drifted. One afternoon, while organizing family photos, Jinger noticed a small moment frozen in time. A picture from the Arkansas visit. In it, Jana stood behind Jeremy, her gaze soft, her smile faint but full of emotion. Jeremy's head was slightly turned toward her, eyes half caught in the moment. No one else would notice, but Jinger did. It was subtle, hidden, but real. Her chest tightened. For the first time, she wondered, could something have changed between them? Over the next few days, the thought haunted her. She began to watch her husband more closely. His phone habits, the tone of his messages, his pauses before answering simple questions. He never said anything wrong, yet something in her heart whispered that there was a secret he wasn't telling her. Then one evening, Jinger received a text from her sister Joanna. It was casual, just a photo from the family group chat, but at the bottom of the image, half cropped out, was Jana's phone screen on the counter. A glimpse of an open message thread. The name wasn't fully visible, but what little Jinger saw made her heart stop. Vu. The letters burned in her mind. She couldn't unsee them. For hours that night, Jinger sat alone on her balcony, the city lights flickering beneath her. She tried to pray, but her thoughts were too loud. Her sister, her husband, the two people she loved and trusted the most. The possibility alone felt unbearable. Meanwhile, in Arkansas, Jana knelt beside her bed, tears quietly rolling down her face. She hated herself for what she felt, for the way her heart refused to listen to reason. She had never crossed a line, never said a word she shouldn't, but her thoughts were no longer innocent. She felt trapped between love and guilt, unable to escape either. She wrote a single line in her journal that night. Love was never meant to feel this heavy. Back in Los Angeles, Jinger closed her eyes, her heart breaking with an intuition she didn't want to believe. She didn't have proof, only a feeling. But sometimes feelings tell the truth before the world does. And in that fragile silence between two sisters and one man, a storm began to form, quiet but unstoppable. The days that followed were painfully silent. Jinger tried to bury her doubts beneath routine church, filming, family calls. But doubt is like smoke. No matter how tightly you seal the room, it finds a way to slip through the cracks. Jeremy was distant. He smiled when she spoke, answered her questions, kissed her forehead goodnight, but his warmth felt rehearsed, not real. Jinger's instincts screamed that something was wrong, and one evening, she decided she couldn't live with uncertainty anymore. That night, while Jeremy was taking a shower, Jinger's trembling hands reached for his phone on the nightstand. She had never invaded his privacy before, but her heart was louder than her conscience. She opened his messages, not knowing what she was truly looking for. And then she saw it. A message thread named JD. Her breath caught in her throat as she opened it. Dozens of messages appeared. All subtle, carefully written, nothing explicitly wrong, yet unmistakably intimate. Phrases like, "I've been praying for you more than usual. Sometimes I miss the peace in your voice. And it's hard to be honest when hearts get involved." No pictures, no confessions, but between the lines there was everything. Jinger's heart shattered. The phone slipped from her hand onto the carpet, the screen still glowing like a wound. She sat frozen, her tears silent but relentless. It wasn't just betrayal, it was confusion, disbelief, heartbreak all at once. Her own sister, her husband, the two people she trusted beyond measure. The next morning, she didn't confront Jeremy. She couldn't. Instead, she called Arkansas. When Jana picked up the phone, her voice was soft, gentle as always. "Hey Jinger, how are you?" But Jinger's voice trembled. "You tell me, Jana, how am I supposed to be?" The silence that followed was deafening. Jana didn't ask what she meant. She didn't deny. She didn't even breathe for a few seconds, because she knew. In that wordless space, everything that had been hidden came to light. The air between them broke with unspoken truth. Jana's tears fell before she could find words. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I never wanted this. I never crossed a line, but my heart did. And I hate myself for it." On the other end, Jinger closed her eyes. Her pain turned to anger, then sorrow. "You were my sister," she said quietly, her voice breaking. "You still are. But I don't know how to look at you now." Jana didn't try to defend herself. She couldn't. Everything inside her collapsed. Years of restraint, faith, guilt, and loneliness tangled together into unbearable shame. Later that evening, the Duggar household felt heavier than ever. Jana stayed in her room refusing dinner, her journal open before her. Pages filled with apologies no one would ever read. Michelle knocked softly at her door, sensing her daughter's pain. "Jana, sweetheart, are you all right?" But Jana couldn't answer. Not yet. Because how could she explain to her mother, the symbol of purity and family faith, that she had fallen in love with her sister's husband? As night fell, Jana finally stepped outside, walking barefoot into the quiet garden. The moonlight shimmered against the leaves and she whispered to the wind, "God, I don't know why I let my heart wander, but please, help me find my way back." In Los Angeles, Jinger sat by the window, holding her wedding ring between her fingers. The city lights blurred through her tears. She didn't know what the future held, for her marriage, for her sister, for their family. All she knew was that nothing would ever be the same again. And somewhere far away, Jana looked up at the same sky, praying for forgiveness that didn't seem to come. The Duggar house had always been a fortress of order. Prayers before dawn, family dinners at sunset, faith woven into every corner of life. But this time silence hung over it like a heavy fog. Jana barely spoke for days. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her smile completely gone. She moved through the house like a shadow, helping with chores, answering when spoken to. But her heart was somewhere else, crushed beneath guilt and shame. The news had already reached home. Jinger's voice, trembling through the phone, had carried the truth to her parents. She didn't mean to expose Jana. She just needed someone to talk to. But in a house like theirs, words travel fast, especially ones born from pain. Michelle Duggar sat quietly at the kitchen table that evening, her Bible open but unread. Her hands trembled as she turned the pages, eyes glassy with disbelief. "My Jana," she whispered to herself, "how could my sweet girl fall into something like this?" Jim Bob Duggar, usually stern and composed, was pacing in silence. His jaw was tight, his eyes dark. To him, family reputation was everything. The idea that one of his daughters could be involved, even emotionally, with her sister's husband was unthinkable. When Jana finally entered the room, the air thickened with tension. She didn't need to ask what they knew. She could see it in their faces. Her father spoke first, voice low but firm. "Jana, is it true?" Jana didn't lift her eyes. Her voice cracked as she answered, "I never meant for it to happen, Daddy. I never touched him. I never meant to love him. But I did. And I can't pretend I didn't." Michelle's hand flew to her mouth as tears fell. She wanted to comfort her daughter, but her heart was torn in two, one side filled with sorrow, the other with confusion. Jim Bob turned away, unable to look at her. "You've brought shame to this family," he said quietly, not out of anger but out of heartbreak. "You were the example, Jana. Everyone looked up to you." The words pierced her like a knife. Jana dropped to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "I know, Papa. I know I failed you. I failed everyone. But please believe me. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted to feel alive." Michelle knelt beside her, pulling her into her arms despite everything. "We all fall, Jana. But God's love doesn't end here. You have to find your way back to Him." That night, the family gathered in the living room for prayer. No one spoke much. The younger siblings didn't understand, only sensing the heaviness in the air. Jana sat apart from everyone, her head bowed, her fingers twisting nervously. When her turn came to pray, she couldn't speak at first. But finally, through her tears, she whispered, "Lord, I don't ask you to take away my pain. Just help me carry it. Help me forgive myself." Outside, thunder rolled across the dark sky, as if heaven itself was listening. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Jinger sat alone in her apartment. Jeremy had confessed everything to her, every emotion, every mistake. He begged for forgiveness, promising to rebuild what they had lost. But Jinger's heart wasn't ready. Some wounds take more than words to heal. Days later, she called Jana. The sisters didn't talk much, just listened to each other's breathing through the phone. Two souls connected by pain, longing, and a fragile kind of love that still existed despite everything. For the first time in weeks, Jana smiled faintly. "Thank you for not hating me," she whispered. "I never could," Jinger said softly. "You're still my sister. And someday maybe we'll both find peace again." The call ended, but the bond between them, though cracked and bruised, remained. That night, Jana walked out to the field behind the Duggar home. The stars were bright, the wind gentle. She knelt in the grass, closing her eyes as tears rolled down her cheeks. Maybe redemption isn't about being perfect, she thought. Maybe it's about being honest, even when it breaks you. And as dawn touched the horizon, Jana Duggar, the girl who had carried everyone else's burdens her entire life, finally began to forgive herself. Months had passed since the storm shook the Duggar household. Life had returned to its routines, but everything had changed beneath the surface. The family still prayed together, still gathered for meals, still smiled for cameras. Yet the silence now carried a weight of unspoken truths. Jana Duggar had begun to rebuild herself. She spent hours in quiet reflection, journaling, volunteering with local charities, and reconnecting with her faith. The mistake she had made, loving someone forbidden, had left a mark, but it also opened a door to honesty and self-understanding. She had learned the painful truth. Loving someone isn't always about possession. Sometimes it's about letting go. Jinger Duggar and Vuolo had also worked through their own struggles. Through counseling, prayer, and honest communication, they began to repair the cracks in their marriage. The betrayal had left scars, yes, but it also forced them to confront emotions they had previously ignored. Trust could be rebuilt slowly and carefully, one small step at a time. One autumn evening, the sisters found themselves alone in the Duggar garden. Jana had returned from a long walk, and Jinger was sitting beneath the old oak tree, the same one where Jana had spent so many secret hours months ago. They didn't speak immediately. Words weren't necessary. The quiet was enough. A shared understanding, a recognition of pain and forgiveness. Finally, Jana spoke softly. "I'm sorry for everything. For the hurt, for the shame, for the secrets." Jinger reached out, taking her sister's hand. "We can't change the past, but we can choose how we live now. I don't hate you, Jana. I never could." Tears fell again, but this time they were different. Cleansing, healing, full of possibility. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting golden light across the garden. It seemed to embrace them both, as if the world itself was offering quiet absolution. In the months that followed, life took on a new rhythm. Jana focused on ministry, helping those who had lost their way, quietly inspiring others with her story of struggle and redemption. Jinger and Jeremy continued their marriage, now more honest and connected than ever. The Duggar family, though tested and scarred, remained together, not perfect but resilient. They had learned that faith, love, and forgiveness could coexist with human flaws. And as the stars appeared once more over the Arkansas sky, Jana walked alone through the fields, feeling a serenity she hadn't known in years. She whispered to the wind, "I am not perfect. I am broken, but I am learning to be whole." Some mistakes leave marks that never fully fade. But some truths, the ones we confront with courage, can lead to a peace deeper than any comfort life could offer. The camera pans upward, capturing the vast night sky, dotted with infinite stars. The quiet hum of the Duggar home in the distance is a gentle reminder that life goes on. Hearts heal, families endure, and even in the aftermath of pain, love remains, sometimes transformed, but never extinguished. Fade out.